All right. Q&A got interrupted by a phone call there. Q&A still part 3. Uh, when Eagles Dare asked, what do you think the desired population goals are numerically by the ruling class entities? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's of course what you find on the Georgia Guidestones, 500 million. Maybe they don't want to go quite that far. They're really so your choices are there really aren't any per se. 50% to 70%, 70 to 90%, 90 to 99%. I don't know. They've got to keep enough people around to be their slaves. So it's not like they're just going to throw out everybody who they see as a useless eater or but as far as their goals, and I don't think they will succeed. I should say that they're not going to succeed at depopulating the world. It's what they want, but there are not the only. There are plenty of countervailing trends, to the point where it's not just like they snap their fingers and get their way. Okay, but if they had their way, maybe around 90%. That would be my guess. What literary classic, Justin Fisher asked, what literary classic do you actively despise and why? I don't know, because I don't think I would think of it as a literary classic if I despised it. But it's true, there are books and things out there that that are thought of as classics. I'm not a big fan of Walt Whitman. I don't know if I despise Walt Whitman, but the whole Leaves of Grass style of poetry, this just like free verse, like I am everything, and everything is all around me, and it is inside me, and it is outside of me, and I am never ending, and I contain multitudes, and blah blah blah. Which this style of writing, which was really influential for the Beats, like Allen Ginsberg, and others. That's really, I like restraint. I like formalism. Um, so so if it, so maybe Walt Whitman would be. Uh, I don't know if I despise him though. I'm just. It's just not my favorite type of writing. I find it self indulgent. A couple of recommendations. What make Apicus asked what makes Shakespeare great? His command of language is one thing that makes him great, and his ability to create characters that that really stay with you, that are really really interesting characters, and that you come to care about, that are so full bodied that you want to get to know them as if they were real people. I've wanted to befriend Hamlet. I've wanted to find Hamlet and befriend him. And he's a fictional character, so I can't do that. But to me, he's more interesting than most real people. And that's a sign of a great writer when he can create a character like that becomes somebody that you want to know, that you want to get to know, who has all these contradictory sides to him, and yet still coheres as a person. I mean, Hamlet is an extreme example because Hamlet is just an amazing incredible, multifaceted character who just dominates that play. But there's so many other characters like that. Iago, the most evil character in all of literature. I find Othello to be a very difficult play to read or to watch, just because I don't like seeing how Iago succeeds so well at at tearing this good man Othello to shreds by just working on his vulnerabilities, which is basically his insecurity regarding his wife, which he has no actual reason to feel insecure about because she's extremely devoted to him, but Iago succeeds at making him think that his wife is a whore, and it becomes just this really horrific thing to watch, but also fascinating. King Lear, incredible play, just devastating ending. Talk about being torn to pieces. When Lear comes out holding Ophelia's dead body. Sorry to spoil the ending for anybody. Not Ophelia. Cordelia. When he comes out holding his dear daughter's dead body. And it's just like a punch in the gut. And Cordelia, speaking of great characters, a portrayal of nobility of mind, nobility of spirit, like in that opening scene with King Lear when the bad sisters are all interested in flattering their dad and telling him what he wants to hear, and she realizes I don't want to have any part in this, so she just says no, I'm not doing this, and for because of her integrity, because of her honesty, and her refusal to take part in this nauseating flatterer's game, she gets banished by her father. But they eventually make up, and then unfortunately, before the play is over, she's dead, and he's holding her in his arms. There's so many moments like that. I mean, it threatens to be there. I guess in a certain case, you could say maybe it could threaten to be melodramatic, but there are so many things, just so many great characters, and so much. There's so much dialogue that comes out of Shakespeare that you don't know. These are things that you say every day. Like if you say, "There's a method to my madness," you've said that. You've heard other people say that. You don't think about that. That's from Shakespeare. And I could think of probably 15 or 20 more things that people say. Like that was Greek to me, or that's just sounded like Greek. That's from Julius Caesar, another great play. So yeah, I would say both his command of language and his ability to create characters who are memorable are what make him a great playwright. Okay. Hi, Andy. I'd like to know what kind of writing regime you follow. I've talked about this before. I try to write every day when I have time, and inspiration can't be forced, but you can put yourself in you can make yourself ready for it, and it's 80% perspiration, 20% inspiration, something like that. I think the thing is just to be disciplined and to try to do it every day. There's no No, there's not a word count goal for a day. It, and some days I don't write because I have to do other things. So it just depends. So Matuzis asked what I think about what are considered examples of mass hysteria, like the McMartin case. I haven't really talked about the McMartin case that much. I've talked about plenty of other. There's so many other things that are just, for me, absolutely beyond. Like there's no denying that the rich and powerful were sexually exploiting children. There's so many obvious cases of that, be it the Finders, the Franklin scandal. It's such a prevalent thing. But the McMartin case, the digging the stuff with the tunnels and the like devil worship, and there's lots of lurid aspects to it. And yeah, people dismissed it as satanic panic, but I don't know that it is or not. I don't really. I have not weighed in on the McMartin case, but I am open to it being real. And I'm less and less inclined to see things as satanic panic. That seemed like a term that got bandied about, especially in the 90s. And false memory syndrome. Well, I mean, there's lots of problems with that. We don't remember things perfectly, but this whole notion of false memory syndrome, it seemed like it was something that was just a little too convenient to create at the time that it was created, and then the kind of people who came up with it. And when you look into what the kind of things they were into, just, I don't know, look it up on a search engine, type in false memory syndrome, see who these people were who came up with that principle or that notion, and then take a look at what kind of things they did, the kind of pornography that they created, and the things that they were accused of. I mean, very very disreputable people, very not very trustworthy people. All right, Galactic Black Light. You said in the past that experiencing other Catholics caused you to have a crisis of faith. Could you expand on that? It was mainly involving Mark Shea, who at one time was just this, Mr. Online Catholic, and is a dreadful, dreadful person. There were a few other cases of people who I clashed with who were Catholic, and there were times where I wanted to, where I sort of envisaged myself being a part of some, literary online Catholic community, and it just didn't happen. It was like I wasn't, I wasn't wanted, I wasn't desired as part of a club, so it was just little things like that. But anyway, Mandela Effect. Okay, Mandela Effect in the Bible. The whole fact that the Bible says the wolf shall lie down with the lamb and not the lion shall lie down with the lamb, that's wild. That's wild. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. uh, but I do take the Mandela Effect seriously, which in itself I know makes some people think that I'm a kook. I take it seriously, which isn't to say I just think it's any every cited instance of it is uh, is real. Um, but I've talked before about there are things that I think the way that it gets dismissed just doesn't cut it. People just say, "Oh well, you just don't remember correctly." Well, it'd be one thing if it was just something that happened, you know, on some specific event, and you remembered it a certain way, and then it turned out it wasn't that way. Oh, I guess I just didn't remember it right. But you grow up hearing Bernstein Bears and seeing Bernstein Bears books in the school library, and just knowing it's Bernstein Bears, and suddenly you're told, no, you've misremembered it this whole time. Well, the hell I have. No, no, I haven't. Um, so, uh, how do you deal with the brutality of the Old Testament where God orders indiscriminate slaughter of men, women, children, and beasts? Of course, those are difficult passages. There's no real easy way to reconcile that kind of thing. So I don't even try to. What is your single most cringe memory? That's something I would have to think about. I don't know. Nothing's coming to mind, but I've got plenty of them. Okay, Andrea McDonald asks, have I watched the seasons of Twin Peaks? I think your opinion on the show would be incredibly interesting. Thanks for saying so. I watched a little bit of Twin Peaks way back in the day, but it's been ages. I was kind of skeptical of it at the time. It was like something that all the artsy kids liked, and I sort of hung out with the artsy kids, but I was not. I didn't just like to follow trends or just go with the herd. And my thing with David Lynch is that I've always thought that he's interested. I mean, obviously he's talented, but I don't know whether there's meaning per se in his work, or if he just like the whole thing about Twin Peaks being like this murder mystery. But that gets kind of annoying when the person when the primary creative force behind it all doesn't really is just kind of making it up as he's going, So it's like it can't be that clever. It's like, oh, I wouldn't have never thought that X would have done it, like in an Agatha Christie novel or something. Where there's a kind of satisfying surprise. Instead, Lynch just kind of, he just makes weird stuff happen, and it's very atmospheric, and some of it's very powerful. But ultimately, this is just my memory of Twin Peaks. I just kind of found it a little bit frustrating, and it was very trendy for a time. It was something like if you were like a theater major, if you were any kind of artsy if you had any kind of artsy pretensions, then you were a Twin Peaks fan. And I know that there was a third season that got made a few years ago, which I watched a little bit of. But so those are just my scattershot thoughts on Twin Peaks and on David Lynch. I think I've mellowed a little bit on David Lynch through the years. I used to just kind of think he was a charlatan. I thought he was again always talented, but I just didn't know how much real substance there was to his work. And I would never want to watch Eraserhead ever again. I saw Eraserhead when I was 16, and I thought to myself, that was totally appalling. I do not want to see that ever, ever, ever again. So, um, in these goings down, do you still play bass guitar? Not really. Who were your musical influences? Um, I grew up in the my influences were mostly early '80s power pop, new wave kind of stuff. Um, that was that that's my background. That's my you know that's where I feel musically at home when I'm hearing that kind of music. Uh, but I never really played enough bass guitar to to have it be an influence. So, all right, just a couple more. Did you fall out with Con Liddell? No. Con Liddell and I are fine. Did you listen to any of Millennial this year? No, I didn't. I only became aware that Millennial was still around very recently. Um, so no, I didn't hear any of it. Finally, Diaz asked, do you find David Icke a positive force because he gets people thinking outside the box, or a grifter, or just an idiot nutter? No, I like David Icke. Uh, I wouldn't call him a grifter. I think he is sincere. I know there was a time when he was kind of a little bit flaky, but like in the early '90s when he started off. But I think he's sincere, and even if he's off the mark, even if he's a little overly verbose, I definitely like him, and I'm glad that he's around, and I've learned things from him. All right, thanks for watching. That thus ends Q&A. Talk to y'all soon.